Invite Dr. Ashok Dalwai sir for two events. One is for curtain raising this program because in the name of centenary celebration. And with gratitude to the respected Vice Chancellor and this university for giving me this opportunity to unveil this event, which begins today and will be celebrated over the next 1 year in honor of our revered teacher, Dr. S V Patil sir. So let's all give a thunderous clap in recognition of the person that we raised today. Thank you very much to the respected Vice Chancellor and President of the function, all my dear friends on the desk, all my revered teachers sitting in front, and all my friends who studied with me at that point of time. I can see my own classmates, my seniors and juniors, and of course, more importantly, the young students. All of us together first welcome the family of our revered teacher in whose honor we're all assembled here. So sir, with your permission, let's give a warm welcome to Dr. Ashok Patil and all the family members here. Thank you very much. For want of time, I'm not taking everybody's name. Please pardon me. We are all very lucky to be sitting here in this majestic auditorium of this beautiful campus. As I speak here, I can recall so many memories of Dr. S V Patil. In fact, it appears that I was destined to cross my way with him many a time. The first thing is that I just live only 10 kilometers away from his village of Pulukund. I come from a village called Kaujalgi. So Dr. S V Patil's family is well known in that region. I was never interested in joining agriculture college. After I did my 11th standard at Science School, Bijapur, and all the time, of course, as my school was aiming that we should be joining National Defence Academy, I too got through, but God willed otherwise. I was medically rejected. I was wondering what I was going to do, and physics was something very dear to me. I was boarding the bus from Gokak to Belgaum to join physics. It so happened, as always happens, that bus got late. And then another classmate of mine to be happened to see me there at that bus stand. He told my father, he happened to be the relative of the local MLA, that I have got the seat at the agriculture college. What about your son? He asked my father. Then my father told, let's also find out what has happened. And there was a telephone call from Gokak. At that time, you had to go to some post office to make the call. There was no mobile, and etc. It so happened that the call was received by none other than this great man, Dr. S V Patil himself. It may have been late evening, which only goes to show that he was sitting in the office and still working. He told, wait, he just looked at the list and he said, your boy has got selected, just send him here, don't do anything else. And Dr. S V Patil's word was not just an advice, it was also taken with lots of respect. So my father told, okay, let's go back now, you cancel your so-called physics engagement, we joined agriculture college. That's how I landed at Agriculture College. And now looking back after 45 years, I feel that it was a destiny. I'm so lucky that I became a part of the agriculture faculty, agriculture professionals, agriculture discipline. There were many other occasions when we came across each other. He was, of course, a big man. We looked at him with reverence, with awe, respect. I was just listening to many friends how he always loved children. The Vice Chancellor himself, Dr. Madhav Chetty, was telling me that whenever Dr. S V Patil went to IRI, he never ate one day at the hostel, but he made it a point to take him and other college boys to an outside hotel saying, you must be all bored of your food, come, let's go and eat food outside. And Dr. B. V. Patil, the former Vice Chancellor of Raichur, told me at that other campus that he had got a seat for MSc at IRI. He had also booked his ticket, which cost him 285 rupees. Dr. S V Patil said, how can bright students like you leave our campus and go elsewhere? He told, where is your ticket? He gave him his ticket. He tore it into shreds. How much did it cost you? 285 rupees. All right, take 300 rupees here. So he gave 300 rupees to him and made him to stay here. So this was the kind of concern he had for this campus, for this place, for this university. And I recall interaction between Dr. S V Patil and Dr. J. V. Lord, both of them the doyens of our campus at that time. It was emergency time and we had joined the college, no elections. 1977, for the first time, elections were held to the student assembly. And we all, of course, got elected, and of course, there was some skirmish. Our Dr. V. C. Patil sitting here would know, he was one of the leaders of the campus at that point of time. And it so happened that there was a conflict between students, and it went up to the police. It was a case also. So for 1 month, all my classmates, they would know that. There was a ban by Dr. S V Patil said that no opening of the students' assembly. So after a month, myself and the president-elect, Shripad Harlekar, I was elected as vice president. So we went to sir and told sir, we would like to inaugurate our association because all students are asking, we gave you so many votes, you got elected, what the hell are you doing? He told only one thing, I am not the man to decide. Your man to decide is the chief advisor, Dr. J. V. Gao. Sir, then we came to you, I don't know whether you remember. We went with trepidation because his name was a big fear on the campus. So we went to the Department of Plant Breeding and Genetics. And with lots of fear, standing, not daring to sit, we could go and sit in front of Dr. S V Patil, but not in front of him. So he told, what do you want? We said, sir, we got elected, we would like to inaugurate our school, college assembly. He said, okay, we'll do it. I mean, it was like a surprise to us. We were expecting something, and he's a man. He says, okay, do it, I'm with you. So immediately we came and started working, and that's how the campus would work at that point of time. 9 or 10 people who were called professors, if they walked on this quadrangle, there used to be pin drop silence, irrespective of which department professor he was. So that was the kind of respect the professors had at that point of time. And then when we inaugurated our first function, Dr. J. V. Gao came with his smart suit. I think there was only one person who was always smartly dressed. He would come by car. So his presence, an elegant walk into the assembly auditorium itself was a great charm. So this is how our university would run at that point of time. So to recall so many incidents with Dr. S V Patil, me and my friends who returned from Gokak when I was in 3rd year, at the end of the vacation, then as we were getting down at Saudati, Saudati was a place where you could stop for at least half an hour for people to have tea. It was a very popular place between Belgaum, Gokak and Dharwad. Then one of our seniors, he noticed that our dean himself is sitting in the bus. Just imagine, A man who owns hundreds of acres of land, who could have easily afforded any car to come, he was sitting in that red bus, ramshackle red bus of KSRTC. And then imagine we were trying to hide away from him so that we don't want to face him. But here is a man, he has got down, he's waiting at the doorstep, waiting for us because he's already seen us. He has recognized his voice. Then he took us to the canteen. He said, "What do we want to have?" And we all said, "Sir, we will have aloo bonda." I remember still. That was very famous there. So we had tea, aloo bonda, he paid for that. So this was the kind of affection that he used to have for his boys. So there are so many instances that I want to recall, particularly for the young boys and girls sitting here, that one could never miss seeing him for at least 3 days prior to 26th of January and 15th of August every year. Why? Now after 45 years in the IAS, and I'm seeing so many big wigs, all of who are waiting for somebody to prepare the draft speech and give them for reading at the national event. Here was a man, evening 5:30, he gets into the library, which was then in the main building, the old dome-shaped building. On the right-hand corner was to be a journal section, left-hand corner the research journal section. And he is sitting quietly at one of the tables, looking at Yojana and looking at that time Eastern Economists used to come, here India Yearbook, all kinds of magazines and books he has surrounded himself with, and one by one he is going through to write his speech. So on come 15th August and 26th January, here was a man reading his speech, not prepared by somebody, but by himself. So look at the kind of dedication he had. Why did he do that? Only because he wanted to communicate the right message to the young minds. And one of the most popular saying of his, which I keep quoting every time I address the young boys and girls during my service, he would always say that even Einstein would not have become great if he had not worked hard. And our Dr. Srivatsa was also my teacher. He also said just now that he would tell those agronomy boys that those of you who are not intelligent like Einstein or somebody else in your own class, the only difference is that you have to read 3 times. And you will make up and you get the same grade point. That means that was a stress on hard work that he always laid. And what he was saying, he showed that by his deed. So I just wanted to tell you all the kind of personality that he was. And when people call him as Krishi Rushi, as somebody who believed in the philosophy of Mahatma Gandhi, the meaning is that he believed that there is no difference between what we think, what we say, and what we do. So this is what even Basavanna said, and this is what Mahatma Gandhi said, this is what any great philosopher has said, and this is what Dr. S V Patil believed and we saw as students. And therefore that kind of impact as young students we had of these great people was something that has stood us in life so far. Now friends, will tell you, yes, he belonged to agronomy, and you realize that agronomy and plant breeding, which was then called agriculture, entomology, agriculture, botany, were the only 2 subjects. And 2 people who really must be remembered every day by North Karnataka in particular, and the Karnataka as a whole, and North Karnataka in particular, are 2 people, Dr. S W Menschenkai. Dr. S W Menschenkai and Dr. S V Patil. Why am I telling you this? When this land of 1171 acres was acquired for setting up the Sacrificial College, first, as always happens, the farmers whose lands had been acquired were not willing to give. So every day there is a threat of encroachment. There is no compound wall for this campus. Dr. S W Menschenkai, who had then returned from London and used to be also one of those Englishman-like person, would be in his jeep with a double-barrel gun, walking and going around the campus at night times, daytime, with his gun literally in his hand, to see that land is not encroached, because there is no compound wall. So this is just one example. And when then Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru happened to visit this campus and find there are no boys in this campus, his advice to SW mentioned guy was, you better stop this college, close this and start a hospital. So that was the kind of challenge that the initial members of this campus had. It is thanks to Dr. S.W. mentioned guy who went around the state and mobilized students to come to this campus. And it is thereafter that people like Dr. S V Patil, on that strong foundation built by him, have taken this forward and prepared this campus to become a university of its own standing. Now this particular subject, agronomy, which is the mother of agriculture. In fact, in many European countries, agriculture is called agronomy, because agronomy is equivalent to agriculture. When you talk of agronomy, it is like being a doctor in medicine. You don't have to go to a neurologist, a cardiologist, or a radiologist. You go to a doctor of medicine, a generalist, who then picks up things from different kinds of disciplines, diagnoses what is happening to you, and gives you the basic medicine. So likewise, an agronomist is a generalist within agriculture discipline. He picks up from entomology, from pathology, from the plant breeders, which is the best variety for a particular agroecology, and of course now biotechnology, etc. And then he prescribes what is the best crop production technology for a particular agroecology at the farm level. So agronomy is the mother of all sciences. Now agronomy itself, what does it say? How is it defined? Our young students would know better than all of us now. That it refers to the principles and practices of crop production and field management. So ultimately all that we learn in specialized subjects will have to come down to the field. And all of us know the biggest challenge today is how to transfer technology from the laboratory to the farmer's field. And Dr. S V Patil, we saw as students, young as undergraduates, how you take all his postgraduate students, his PhD scholars, early morning in his khaki trousers, wearing gum boots with an umbrella in his hand, around the field to show what was happening. I mean, these are small impressions at that point of time, but now looking back after so many years, I think that they are the biggest impressions, biggest guides, biggest influences that we have had, our generation has had from people like him. So, people like him built the campus brick by brick and made it into a big university. So agronomy is what is important for all times to come. And the reason is that today the challenges of the farms are how do we ensure rational cost of production. That means reduced cost of production. How do you achieve highest or optimal yield? How do you ensure that there is sustainability? When we now talk about incomes for the farmers, when you talk about ecological sustainability, when you're talking about creating wealth for the nation, these were all, I think, something that people like him talked about at that point of time. Our 1979 batch, when we were going on a tour, as happened, we all asked for a message from the dean. He has given a message. And our president, Mr. Bhadev Halal, is sitting here. He shared with me the other day the message Dr. S V Patil sir gave us. When I read that message, I was aghast. The secondary agriculture, which we're all talking about today, is what he talked about in 1979. In a message, he has very clearly written the concerns of the farmers today are rising cost of inputs, reduced impact of the inputs of the yields, and more importantly, the farmers' income, because farmers are not able to reach out to the markets. There is processing problems. We therefore need more agro-industries. These are the things that is written in the message. Now, when we wrote our doubling farmers' income report, or when we talk today, we talk about the same thing. Either agriculture has not changed from 1979, or he had a vision to see that happen now at that point of time. So just imagine that somebody who is deeply involved, who is doing a tapas, meditating on the subject of his choice, on the profession that he has opted for, is able to see today and tomorrow. So Dr. S V Patil was somebody who was able to see tomorrow. And then just imagine as a scientist, as an academic, as a researcher, as an administrator, we must all remember that the VC was just discussing, that at that point of time, you didn't have to run after people to become a vice chancellor. The government used to choose people to become a vice chancellor. The first Vice Chancellor of UAS Bangalore was chosen by Dr. S. Nijlingappa. He did not know who Dr. Naik. S. Nijlingappa in 1962, he requested the Agriculture Minister, Government of India, that I want a good person to become the Vice Chancellor of the new university we are setting up. The Agriculture Minister in Delhi searched for and found that somebody called Dr. Naik, who is from Karnataka, who is in the United States. So he was contacted and requested to come here. He said, no, I don't want to come back. Then he was told that it is your motherland. You have to serve your nation. Imagine the kind of language that was in vogue at that point of time. So Dr. Naik came and became the Vice Chancellor of UAS Bangalore. Similarly, Dr. S V Patil did not run for his Vice Chancellorship. When he retired as Dean here, sir, you would know that he wrote an inland letter. Right? He wrote an inland letter. People like him, Dr. K. Sirimat, my professor of agriculture, are all known for writing inland letters or postcards. Right? They would write continuously letters. So Dr. S V Patil wrote one inland letter to then Chief Minister Ramkrishna Hegde, another great person. He just wrote a letter, sir, I am so and so, I am retired, I am available now in Hulkund, my village. If my services are required, I am available anytime. That letter was sent, as happens from the CM's office, to the Agriculture Minister, who was none other than Mr. M P Prakash, another good person. So Mr. M P Prakash was Agriculture Minister 1985-86. He happened to come to Dharwad. There was some program in our, especially the museum there, which is near APMC. There he searched for who is S V Patil. He asked, is there somebody called S V Patil here? He happened to be there, he was introduced, that much. And he kept it in his mind, and Mr. M P Prakash saw to it that he became a Vice Chancellor when the turn came for Bangalore. So I'm just trying to tell you how, whether the political leaders or the bureaucrats, they respected the scientists and gave them that dignity. They didn't have to go and ask first. So this is how Dr. S V Patil was. So we must all remember that if we take our job sincerely, if you take our profession sincerely, don't think of what is going to happen to me, but focus on what we are doing. I think we would be making our life very fulfilling. And all that, see, today many of us go abroad because we think it is a fashion. We go there rather than see what is happening there, the purpose for which we are gone. We are more busy going to some club or going to some street, high and see and come, buy things and come back. But here was somebody like Dr. S V Patil. Wherever he went, as we saw, he was collecting books to build a library here. He was collecting knowledge. And that's how some of the experiments conducted in countries like London, UK were actually tried out here. Just remember that before the Industrial Revolution, Agricultural Revolution happened. Any country that forgets to ensure Agricultural Revolution cannot succeed with Industrial Revolution. Whether it is West or China in the recent modern history, or any country, whoever has focused on agriculture has succeeded in the second stage of Industrial Revolution. That's how it happened in UK. Before Industrial Revolution happened in 17th, 18th century in UK, their agricultural revolution began in 14th century. And the first point of revolution was what is called fencing of the farms. That was a policy, that was a program. Fence your farms, because stray cattle would go and graze, as it happens in India today. So fencing movement was very important. And thereafter, we had somebody called the father of agronomy, somebody called Peter in 14th century, who wrote for the first time, compiled various production technologies as available at that point of time. But more importantly, in relation to our own university or Dr. S V Patil, that Rothamsted experiment that all of you have heard of, which was established in 1840, 24 kilometers away from London, that's where till today, the experiments on the same plots are continuing. And it's very unfortunate that what was started by Dr. S V Patil on the same lines that he had visited at Rothamsted has been lost out. Just imagine if we had continued with that. In the whole country, we would have been the only place where we would be having this continuous experiment, and therefore know what is the impact on soil, what is the impact of climate change, on yield, productivity, marginal rate of returns, and so on and so forth. So Rotham's experiment began, which was begun in the 1840s. He's continuing there in London. He had learned that and come. The crop field techniques, all the research plot techniques which as fourth-year students, which we were asked to do the research and submit a small thesis. So these are all things that were started during those points of time. So friends, the lesson for all of us is if you go somewhere, learn, get the knowledge for our people. Because we need to keep continuously progressing. So there are so many things I think Dr. S V Patil has done. So we should all be really grateful to him. Along with him, we had great band of people. In fact, this college, as we joined, is called Seturao College. He was a professor of extension. Somebody may say, what is extension? The last wanted subject. But it is the last wanted subject that connects the technology to the farmers. Dr. Seturao was so popular that he would be visiting villages to transfer technology like Punjab Agriculture University. So every professor, whether it was Dr. J V Gaur or Dr. R F Patil, Dr. Bojappa, Dr. Reddy or Dr. Hegde, each of them was a giant by himself. All the seniors sitting here, they were all the students, the young assistant professors at that time, our teachers. I think we have had great beginning. It's all because of the tapas that people like Dr. S V Patil, Dr. J V Gaur have done. The last recollection I would do, it was September 5th, 1979, the Teachers' Day. Our Vice Chancellor then was Dr. H.R. Alkeri, who had come down from Bangalore. Seeing a Vice Chancellor would be like seeing a President of India. You never saw at that point of time. So we had a lecture. I also had to speak that day. As I came down, Dr. H.R. Alkeri just caught my shoulder, hand and said, he told Dr. S V Patil, why did you not record his speech? He first asked, did you record? He said, no, sir. He said, why did you record? You should have to practice it. Just imagine the concerns they had at that particular point of time for all these little things which they felt we should be promoting our young students. So we had like that. Dr. S V Patil, who was the director of research, would come once in a while from Bangalore, and his presence itself was a celebration on the campus because he could now review the research of the teachers. So that was the kind of environment all these people who actually built this campus, and it's our job to continue. So the last point is, since we are today raising the curtain for celebrating the centenary birthday of Dr. S V Patil, the doyen of our campus, our state, it is our responsibility to make it successful. So over the next 1 year, how do we make this successful? I think the best tribute that we can all pay is to inculcate those values of theirs, to reach out to the farmers. Now today's challenges are climate change. Today's challenge is converting the produce into money for the farmers. Today's challenge is to ensure nutrition security of our people. Today's challenge is ecosystem approach. That means we are not going to just look at productivity. We are not just going to look at resistance against a particular pest or disease. We are going to look at how the farmers will benefit in terms of incomes, how the consumers will benefit in terms of nutrition, and therefore they'll overcome diseases like kwashiorkor, marasmus, which are continuing to persist in our country. And it's a shame for India that there is mounds of food lying on one side and there is hunger, hidden hunger on the other side. And the third of all, most important, is that we can achieve both farmers' incomes and nutrition for the consumers, provided we are going to be sustainable. Climate change is having a terrible impact. India, being a tropical country, is having the most negative impact, influence on account of climate change. So today, agriculture scientists have to come out with new approaches. So how do we now therefore see, under Dr. S V Patil's chair, we shall look at conservation agriculture, whether it is natural farming, whether it is organic farming, or integrated nutrient management, whatever it is, we shall look at in a more comprehensive manner from a scientific perspective, and then give that farm technology, business management principle, field management principles to our farmers. And of course, also share the knowledge, because we need to see that the knowledge is shared with the students, knowledge is shared with the stakeholders. Stakeholders are not just farmers. Farmers are the principal stakeholders, but our industry houses, agro-industry houses, processors, exporters, everybody is there. Because we now today need climate change. So we will certainly sit down and discuss later on how we can actually make use of this. We have requested Government of Karnataka to support, and hopefully they will support us. And our own batches will also keep collecting money. We would like to assure the Vice Chancellor that we are all with you. In fact, to see all the 4 Vice Chancellors one day is a great thing. We are very salute that you all come to celebrate Dr. S V Patil and pay respects to him. So all the farm universities shall work together with the Government of Karnataka and alumni. So alumni have a very important role to play. I must tell you that in America, all the universities are built by alumni. And the International United States Development Agency, they conducted an experiment in Africa as to how do we create alumni and make them part of the universities. And now they have been able to mobilize a large number of alumni associations in African countries and make some of them integral part of the development process. For the first time in countries like Kenya, the first medical college came up thanks to the alumni. They didn't have a proper medical college. So that is the role that alumni can play. So we, as a part of the centenary celebration, let's also reinvigorate the alumni so that we can become part of the process of change of this campus, of this university, and all the universities in the state, so that we all start contributing. So I'll stop here. And that's all students of this campus, teachers of this campus, the wrong usage of the word campus, or all the universities, and of course all the alumni who shall work together. And we have royals in our former vice chancellors, former professors, former teachers, they're all in the repertoire of knowledge. So we shall all work together and make a fitting tribute to Dr. S V Patil during this year of centenary celebration. So once again, on behalf of everybody, I pay my deep respects to Dr. S V Patil. He is not just a teacher, he is a guru. In our Indian culture, guru is much more than teacher. So we pay respects to our guru and take his blessings on this day, and then we shall move forward from today over the next 1 year. So thank you very much and namaskar.
Thanks, sir. Now I invite our own Honorable Vice Chancellor Dr. M. V. Chetty, sir, for presidential remarks.